It was a weekend of bad news and bad baseball until the Dodgers turned it around on Sunday night. That's what gives us hope for the future. Let's talk about it all. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB to win $50 instantly when you play $5. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers, and you can make it easier on yourself by subscribing and get notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live like we are here on Sunday night. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. My name is Vince Samperio. That's Jeff Snyder. Jeff and I have been doing this podcast for 6 seasons now. We've both covered the Dodgers in a few different ways for a decade. We've written about the Dodgers. We've been in the press box, been in the locker room, done player interviews, all that type of stuff. And we're here to bring that all together to talk about the Dodgers, hopefully making you a better Dodger fan in the process, as well as ourselves better Dodger fans in the process. And let's get into it right now. Like I mentioned in the lead-in, it was bad news and bad baseball up until the top of the ninth inning on Sunday for the Dodgers, where they put up a bunch of runs and got the win and have a chance to split the series on Monday in one of these weird wraparound series. But let's start off with the bad news. Tyler Glasnow, he was supposed to throw a sim game on Friday. He warmed up for that sim game, and then we haven't seen him or heard from him since. Or I guess they maybe have seen him, but haven't heard from him since. Dave Roberts said they were going to do some scans. They were promising was what the word they used. I guess promising means different things, or something else happened in those scans, because we found out on Saturday that he has a sprained elbow. He'll be out for the rest of the season. We also found out on Saturday that Clayton Kershaw will likely miss the rest of the regular season. Gavin Stone, I guess the little bit of good news we did get was that he's supposed to throw next week in Miami and get his process started of coming back. But yeah, Jeff, when you lose your supposed to be number one guy heading into October, it's not a great thing.
Yeah, it was a gut punch for sure. And, ever since he didn't come back in the 15-day minimum, like they were hopeful he would when he first went on the injured list, there's kind of been that in the back of our minds of, okay, not sure if we can count on him. Even if he comes back, will he be built up? All of those things. That's why it was so exciting last week when Yoshinobu Yamamoto came back, because, okay, well, at least the Dodgers have Yamamoto and Flaherty. We'll talk about Flaherty in the second segment. But, finding out, okay, Glasnow is not coming back, it is a gut punch. And it was the same exact interview with Dave Roberts that he said that Clayton Kershaw is unlikely to return in the regular season. Who knows if Kershaw will be able to be built up to be anything other than, a 2-inning relief guy, even if he is healthy for the postseason. Don't know what his quality would look like at all, let alone the questions about quantity that he can give. And so it felt a lot Saturday, morning when we got all that news, late morning, early afternoon, kind of reminded me of that weekend in 2021, the last weekend of the season, when Clayton Kershaw walked off the mound with an elbow injury, and then Max Muncy got his elbow injured by Jace Peterson on the play at first base. And then even, I think it was the next series that Justin Turner got hurt. And so it was just like one thing after another. That was a lot what it was feeling like on Saturday, especially because the Dodgers had just lost to the Braves on Friday too. So coming off a loss where they couldn't do anything against a rookie pitcher, like it was just a rough day.
Yeah, and for Glasnow, we talked a lot about when they signed him and, kind of what it meant and is he injury prone or is he not? And, we both kind of mentioned the fact that, yeah, he hadn't thrown the innings over 120 innings in a season, but the main injury he had, he explained it as the same injury, just not taken care of properly the first time. And basically he pitched compromised, and then he tried to come back and pitch again, and then that same issue flared up, and then it ended up in surgery. So I'm still not concerned about the next 4 years of this deal. Even also because it's not, they're not paying him $30 million a year or anything like that. It's reasonable, but yeah, it sucks right now, and it sucks for the future of this next 6 to 8 weeks or plus, however long it's going to take, and it can drop confidence a little bit or a lot depending on how you feel about October. But with Yamamoto, with Flaherty, those are two guys that can be the head of the snake for you in October. And we've seen a lot of the teams win with better starting pitching. We've seen a lot of teams win with worse starting pitching, especially when it comes to those first two. So it changes the Dodgers' outlook in the sense of confidence. Maybe we have. I don't know how much it necessarily changes the overall outlook, if depending how you treat the playoffs. Like if you think they're going to have the same percent chance as they do just going in as one of 12 teams, then yeah, it doesn't change much. If you think that those odds can change player by player or things of that nature, then yeah, it might have changed your mind. As for Kershaw, he's been working out the arm at the very least. We do know that. So if he does come back, maybe the arm will be built up a little bit more. But I don't know. We'll talk about it a little bit later about like kind of everything that kind of plays into it. But I do think the Dodgers can hold their own with the rotation as long as everything else, and this is the bigger if, is the offense comes through and the bullpen comes through.
Yeah, and we did get one other injury on Sunday. Austin Barnes re-injured the toe that had been broken. Not sure, like you think Barnes said it wasn't the exact same spot, but took another foul ball off of it. Dave Roberts said he expects it to be an IL stint and that Hunter Fiducia's on the way. I'm interested to see if Fiducia is the long-term play here, or if they do use this as an excuse to say, hey, get Dalton Rushing here. He can be our backup catcher and also get an occasional start in the outfield and see if he can hit big league pitching. Somebody, when we talked about Rushing last week, somebody commented, and you had said it, that we'd need to get him up in the big leagues before the postseason to see if he could hit. And somebody else made that same point in the YouTube comments that, yeah, you need to know if he can hit big league pitching. This might be a pretty awesome opportunity to find out if Dalton Rushing can hit major league pitching, or maybe they just go with Fiducia. We'll have to see. I did think it was interesting that, you mentioned it a little bit that Tyler Glasnow left the team, and Dave Roberts said he flew out and didn't know where he flew to. And maybe you disagree with me. It might be fun. We don't get to disagree very often, Vince, but sure did feel like a whole lot of much ado about nothing to me. Like, Glasnow probably flew home to California, and the fact that Dave Roberts didn't see his plane ticket, didn't know for sure, like, seems like a minor thing. And more to the point, it seemed like, according to the media, the big story was that Glasnow left without talking to the media. And apparently their stories won't be complete without having a quote from him saying, I is sad about being hurted. Because what do you expect Glasnow to say? Like, you've got the diagnosis, you know he's not coming back. Like, so I understand where they're coming from, but I just think when a dude, and it's his livelihood, and he's just had a huge hit. I think, okay, so he didn't want to talk to the media. Maybe he'll text you later, but it didn't seem like that big a deal to me. But seemed like people got their feelings hurt.
I think they made it a bigger deal than what it was, but I guess when it's your job, it's a little bit different. Like, I work in sports media, but my job isn't to get Tyler Glasnow quotes when he's injured or anything like that. So I don't have to worry about that specifically. But, I don't think Tyler Glasnow specifically was like, oh, I'm going to do this in order to spite the media. Like, bro, he just found out that his season is over. He's not going to be able to pitch for the Dodgers in October this year. All the stuff he's heard probably all year about him being, injury prone and using his last name as maybe an object that breaks easily. Like that's all in his head. And, for he probably wouldn't have nothing great to say. We would have maybe found out a little bit more details about what he was feeling when he started feeling it, blah, 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 that type of stuff. But at this point, like even as a Dodger fan, like as a consumer of what the media would have been, like he's done for the year. I really don't necessarily care what he has to say because it's not going to bring him back.
Yeah, I totally agree. Nothing he would say would have given me any insight I don't already have.
Yeah, what does if the Dodgers gave a different diagnosis than what it actually is, and maybe he needs surgery, and then that's a different thing. But we won't know that for a while, anyways. All right. Well, there was not great news considering the first two games of the series for the Dodgers. We'll get into it and talk a little bit about starting rotation as well as it lends itself to the games on Friday and Saturday. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel because FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And, well, we have a little bit something different for you because now through September 22nd, that's one more week, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. If you add that up to a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel anytime. If you head over to FanDuel and check out some odds specifically for tomorrow's game, the Dodgers it's almost even money on the money line between the Dodgers with Yamamoto and the Braves with Fried. It's -110 for the Dodgers, -106 for the Braves. So, it doesn't matter what you pick for your bet if you put $5 down because you're still going to get that Sunday ticket deal. So just go check out FanDuel for all the odds, see what you want to put down, see what you want to get into. And then, you can have Sunday ticket for free for 3 weeks, which is a really great way to spend a Sunday. Even when the Dodgers are playing, I roll 2 screens out and get the Sunday football all day long. So go to FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sports book, and get your free NFL Sunday ticket. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts. You can subscribe and make it easier on yourself by getting notified when episodes are ready or when we're going live, like we are here on Sunday night. Remember, you can check out Locked On MLB with our pal Sully for another listen in your day. If you want some insight and humor into the rest of the baseball world, you can go check out Locked On MLB podcast wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And on YouTube, there is 2 24/7 streaming channels that might fit your needs. Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles. They're running all day and all night, bringing the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. That's where you can find the Locked On Dodgers postcast with host Pete Fox, available after most Dodger games live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel and in our audio feed. All right, Jeff. So, like I said, before we got to Sunday night and the Sunday night game, Dodgers played 2 games on Friday and Saturday, and both games did not go well for the Dodgers. They lost 9-2. Not 9. They won 9-2. They lost 6-2, and then they lost 10-1. Landon Knack only went 2 innings in his start, gave up 7 hits, 5 runs, and a pair of homers. Jack Flaherty only went 3 innings in his start, gave up 5 hits, 4 runs, and an uncharacteristic 4 walks. Do we think it's anything more than, just a bad start in maybe a humid city?
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly what it is, but Flaherty's start was maybe the lowest point of the season for a lot of Dodger fans because it did come just hours after the bad news about Glasnow. And like I kind of hinted at in the first segment, we were thinking, okay, well, Yamamoto and Flaherty, that's still a good 1-2 punch. And then it's like Flaherty's like, but maybe what if I'm not good? It was very, very frustrating. The good news is that, I have to sneeze. That's bad timing. Hold on. And once I said it out loud, it went away. The good news is this was uncharacteristic. Like you said, Flaherty hadn't walked that many batters in a game all season. Flaherty, he is usually much better than this. And so if you're looking at it purely rationally, there's no reason to believe that the version of Jack Flaherty we saw on Saturday is the real version, and the version that's been very, very good all season was the fake version. Rationally speaking, it makes sense that this was the anomaly, this was the aberration. But the timing was really, really bad because, when you're already down to 2 starters you can count on, your guy you were hoping to be the third or fourth starter, Landon Knack, just struggled the day before. It's rough to have one of those 2 guys struggle that badly, and against a team that, and the Braves haven't hit well this year. And for them to knock around Flaherty was frustrating and concerning in the moment.
Yeah, for a start, I don't think you're going to notice anything like too crazy. Like if we had noticed like, oh, velocity was way down, or missing to the same side, whatever the case is, might have just been one of those bad days. The bad part was that they were on back-to-back days, and 2 starting pitchers want to combine 5 innings, and when a bullpen that's already a little bit tired, heading into getting ready for October, where you'd rather have them a little bit more fresh, it wasn't the best timing. But I'm not, like I said, not concerned about Flaherty. Landon Knack is one where we don't really know. He's been good for the most part. He hasn't been as efficient or going as deep into games, throughout the whole season as we maybe would have wanted to. But he's been good, and you can talk yourself into, okay, Glasnow's hurt, Kershaw might not be back. Walker Buehler to that point had not shown anything. Bobby Miller to that point hadn't really shown anything. You're talking yourself into Landon Knack maybe being a game 3 or 4 starter, depending if Gavin Stone comes back. So, to see him go out and get shelled by a potential playoff team, not ideal. But again, if the Dodgers had to play the Braves in the postseason again, and there's no other better options, and Landon Knack's going to start, and you would hope that it's a different result there. But yeah, we'll see. Flaherty has had some mediocre games. He's had some good games, and then this was one of the main ones that was really bad for him. So I'll take everything else that came before it with it, especially considering like we saw Walker Buehler pitch well on Sunday evening against this same Braves team. So you got to imagine, what the Braves didn't just automatically learn how to hit. They all have the potential to hit, and that's like the Dodgers. The Dodgers scored 2 runs on Friday and 1 run on Saturday. Like, not that they could have scored 7 runs and 11 runs, but the fact that they only scored 2 and 1 is also not ideal. So.
Yeah, for sure. And you and I have said many times, the postseason is probably going to come down to whether or not the offense shows up anyway, regardless of who pitches. Obviously, it's easier if your starter holds the other team to 2 runs, then the offense doesn't have to show up as much. But, we've said it many times. The Dodgers lost in the playoffs last year because they scored 6 total runs in 3 games. That's why they lost. Yeah, they're probably going to lose that game 1 no matter what. They lost 4-2 each of the last 2 games of that series. If the Dodgers offense had shown up, they would have won games 2 and 3, and then who knows what happens the rest of the series. But so that's what's going to come down to. It's also, the defense didn't help Flaherty either. That's true. Defense has had some flubs the last week or so. Hopefully they're just getting that out of their system. It also didn't help. Evan Phillips was bad after Flaherty. Alex Vesia was good, but then Phillips was bad. Brazier wasn't great. And then, Kike and Rojas both each put up a scoreless inning. So they were the second and third most effective pitchers of the game for the Dodgers after Alex Vesia. All in all, though, I guess while we're on the bullpen topic, one other thing that is maybe not bad news, but potentially concerning is that Michael Kopech's last 2 outings have been pretty bad. He against the Cubs, he walked the bases loaded, and then he got out of it, only allowed 1 run. They went into it with a 3-run lead. In this game on Sunday, he came in the bottom of the 8th inning, tied 2-2, walks the first guy, gives up a double to Matt Olson, so a second and third, nobody out. And then he said, "Oh yeah, I'm Michael Kopech," and he manhandled Travis d'Arnaud, got a lazy fly out to left that couldn't score a run, and then struck out the next 2 guys. It's kind of the whole Michael Kopech experience where you see why he's had some bad seasons, had some struggles in the past because the command isn't always great. But you also see how important that stuff is, because when it's second and third and nobody out, and you get out of it without allowing any runs just by overpowering the hitters, that's a huge asset to have in the bullpen. Hopefully he can get to the point where he is not getting himself into trouble before the overpowering.
Maybe he's just creating these situations that he might face in October in order to work through them and see if he can get out of them. But yeah, obviously not ideal to get to the point he did. I do wonder, like, it seemed like Kopech was pitching every other day there in August, and then in September he's pitched back-to-back days just once, and he's had at least 3 days off in between all the other games. Like, I wonder if, they're trying to kind of hold him off into situations they need to. Obviously, they've lost some of those games, so we necessarily haven't needed him. But I wonder if they're going to try to focus more on getting him in a rhythm over these next 2 weeks rather than pitching him when the situation presents itself.
I think when you have a pitcher who has never had consistent success in his career and he's new to your organization, yeah, there's a little bit of trial and error, and you're trying to figure out what the best situation is for him. And so I do think and hope that that's a lot of this, that they are figuring out what works for him. The stuff was great tonight. He hit 101 a couple times. And so velocity looked great, which is obviously a big key with him. It's just trying to find that sweet spot where the velocity is good and the command is sharp.
Yeah. Gratterall threw a couple scoreless things over the weekend, so he seems all good after that injury that he sustained. Joe Kelly may come back in the next week. He was with OKC, and Dave Roberts mentioned him as someone that might come back. Tony Gonsolin threw another rehab start. As long as he's not feeling the effects the day after, I guess every step he takes now makes it's a little more important than maybe it was a month ago. I still don't think it would have to be really bad for them to get to a point where Tony Gonsolin's pitching in October for the Dodgers, but at the very least, if they have someone there on the taxi squad or something like that, if they need it.
And maybe it's already gotten pretty bad.
Yeah.
And we may be in Gonsolin territory at this point.
Yeah. But like I mentioned all episode, the Dodgers did have some good on Sunday. They did get a win and can try to tie the series and take the split on Monday. So we'll get into what was good, which was Walker Buehler getting a chance and doing well, and then the offense coming through in a big spot. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It really is, though. I've told you guys a lot of times I'm big on Prize Picks. I've, been playing around with the same money I've had for a couple months now. So it keeps you entertained, it keeps you engaged, and they're always bringing out different things to keep you engaged. And one of those things is all September long. One Caleb Williams passing yard is one free square. So if you combine that with one other thing and put down $25 max on total on the Caleb Williams play, and boom, you're right there. I had Garrett Cole less than strikeouts again on his start when he intentionally walked Rafael Devers with nobody on base. And then I had the one Caleb Williams passing yard, and boom, $5 turned into 15. And I did that a couple other times with a few other plays. And, now I got some money to play with for the rest of the week. So make sure to go check out the Prize Picks app and see all you can do and all you can get, and, have some fun this football and baseball season. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. I want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are one, if you're not one, you can, start listening to us every day, or at least one more time a week than you already do. We know there's a lot of everydayers here on the YouTube chat, and I'm sure there's a lot of everydayers listening to this on your way to work or whatever you do in the morning. But, everyone can help out and do a little bit more, and we'd appreciate that. Remember, you go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. A few bucks a month, you get text directly from us with news, rumors, thoughts, and different things around the Dodgers if you're not able to keep up with them 24/7 like we try to. So, all right, Jeff, Sunday. Now we finally got to the good stuff. We talked about Walker Buehler after his last start. I said that I was over the thinking that he might be somebody that pitches in October for the Dodgers, and you were in a similar boat. But then we got the news of Glasnow and Kershaw, and Landon Knack had his bad start, and now Walker Buehler's starts are going to have a little bit more spotlight on him. And it wasn't pretty, but he got the job done. And, when it comes down to it, that's what's really going to matter in October. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to get the job done. Walker Buehler went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs. He wasn't, he was efficient enough. He wasn't amazing, but He pitched better than any other Dodger pitcher this weekend, and he just gave up the 3 hits. He did have 5 walks, which was the biggest concern. Just 5 strikeouts, just 10 swings and misses. So, still not the Walker Buehler we know and remember and love, but hey, it worked. They got the job done.
For sure. And all 5 of those walks came in the first 2 innings of the game. I'm assuming, I'm just pulling it up right now, but I'm assuming a good portion of those swings and misses came later in the game. We got a lot more called strikes, and so he got more swing and strikes early in the game. But so maybe that's what it was, that he was chasing the swing and miss, because his command was much better the last few innings of this game, and the swagger was back. You could see it. And I am always, you guys know, I am stuff over swagger every day. I don't care if a guy looks like he's confident out there, if he's getting knocked around. But I do think that in Buehler's case, it seemed like something switched in his mind, that he recognizing, oh, wow, when I can command this cutter, a backdoor cutter, like that's a great pitch for Buehler that he's struggled with a lot this year. His slider was really sharp. He threw some really good pitches in this game and got through his last 3 innings of work. He threw 27 pitches in the second inning and 31 in the third inning. He only threw 27 total in the 4th through 6th innings combined. That's how efficient he was there at the end. And, getting weak-ish contact, getting called strikes, getting swings and misses. Like the version of Walker Buehler that we saw in innings 4 through 6, I think any Dodger fan would love to have that guy on the mound in October. The question is that Walker Buehler, or is what we saw in the first 3 innings Walker Buehler, or is it somewhere in between? And we won't really know that until his next start, and see if he can carry over this success and actually put up a second straight good start. The fact is, him getting through 6 innings was huge for the Dodgers. After Knack and Flaherty both getting knocked out early, the Dodgers bullpen definitely needed that. It ended up being a blessing in disguise on Saturday, I guess, that they got knocked around so badly so that Kike and Rojas could save the bullpen a little bit. But yeah, to get through this game, get through 6 innings, and the offense to come through and not have to go to extra innings, help save the bullpen, because the Dodgers are going to need the bullpen again on Monday with Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitching. He's probably got 5 innings tops in him, I would guess. And so, we'll have to see what happens. But really promising last 3 innings from Walker Buehler, that now that we know he's probably going to have a role on this team in October, well, it's something that, I was joking before we hit record, Vince, that, usually in a weekend like this, it would just be my blind optimism, because I refuse to be pessimistic. I think there's going to be plenty of time. If the Dodgers lose in the postseason, when their season's over, I'll have plenty of time to be upset. I'm not going to be pre-upset. I'm not going to tell other people they shouldn't be pessimistic. I'm not telling you how to fan, but that's my viewpoint. But after Saturday night, I thought I am just going to have to be blindly optimistic this weekend on Sunday night. But Sunday gave us some good things to actually be optimistic about with Buehler and with the offense.
It gave you the recipe of how the Dodgers could win in October, which is with good enough, starting pitching, maybe a little bit of luck. Like, I see a comment here about the 1 earned run, saying 2 runs is disingenuous. Catcher's interference is the reason that it's 1 earned run, because, Austin Barnes got his glove in the way, but Walker Buehler still walked the next 2 guys after that. So, it's a balance, and maybe the 2 runs weren't earned, but the
sometimes when you pitch really bad, you give up some unearned runs too.
Yeah. So, but I do think that it's a step in the right direction. And I do think at this point, now that we have, not that we have to, like, we're not being forced, but now that you're actively rooting for Walker Buehler to step up and be that guy, then yeah, now you can find the different things that work. He retired 11 of the last 12 hitters, and it was good enough. Like, if Yamamoto and Flaherty pitched like their potential, and then even if Walker Buehler is your number 3 guy and he comes in and gives you 5 and 3, like, that's ideal in a pinch if that's what you're counting on. But 6 and 2 against the Braves team that was hot the last 2 days was really great. And the Dodgers, what maybe they took away, it's not they had any great defensive plays, but they didn't have any huge defensive miscues. The only one was the positioning kind of hurt them on that one when Olsen could have been out at second base. But, regardless of anything else, like, this is what the Dodgers have to work with now. And, unfortunately, we're probably going to have to see, Bob Miller throughout the rest of the regular season, just based on the news that we got. But, maybe he turns it around. Who knows? Like, at this point, you're kind of just like you said, it's being real. Like, it's optimistic, pessimistic, but it's also being real. Like, realistically, are the Dodgers going to have a tougher shot, than they did on Friday when we thought Tyler Glasnow was still going to pitch in October? Yes, realistically, and also, like, the realistic part is, are the Dodgers going to win the World Series? I don't know. Like, but I also wouldn't know if they had Glasnow and Yamamoto and everyone else, and the offense was putting up 8 runs a game. Like, we still wouldn't know. You might just feel a little bit better about it, and that's kind of where we're at now. Where, like, you can take different approaches to your fandom at this point, but I do think that the Dodgers, the one thing I can say for sure, for certain, is the Dodgers have a team capable of winning the World Series. And games like this are why Walker Buehler can pitch good enough, the bullpen can shut it down, and then the offense can keep it, get a run when they need it later in the game, and then break it open, in the last inning of the game.
Yeah, I promise you, if the offense scores 9 runs a game, they'll win the World Series. If they score 9 runs every game in the postseason, and that's not realistic, but it's realistic for them to do it sometimes. And you don't have to win every game; just got to win more than you lose. That's the nature of the postseason. As far as the actual postseason chances, we were in a weird situation on Sunday of actually rooting for the Diamondbacks because they were playing the Brewers, and suddenly the Brewers were closer to the Dodgers than, the Diamondbacks have kind of taken a step back in the division. I'm not very worried about them. But the Brewers had pulled within 1 game of the Dodgers for the better record, which would secure the 2 seed and a bye in the first round. Then the D-backs had a comeback win in the 10th inning over the Brewers on Sunday, and then the Dodgers had their come from behind win over the Braves. So the Dodgers are back to being 2 games ahead of the Brewers, plus having the tiebreaker with the Brewers. And 10 of the Brewers' last 13 games come against the Phillies, D-backs, and Mets, all of whom are either good or playing for something or both. The other 3 are against the Pirates, who aren't bad. The Dodgers, 9 of their last 14 games, or 9 of their last 13 come against the Marlins and Rockies, who are bad. So nothing is guaranteed, but I would like the Dodgers' chances, even if they and the Brewers were tied right now. The fact that the Dodgers have essentially a 3-game lead over the Brewers with the 2-game lead and the tiebreaker, it's a no-brainer that I feel really good about the Dodgers' chances to secure the 2 seed, secure a first-round bye, and, they're 3.5 games ahead of the Padres. Padres do have the tiebreaker there. But again, Padres have a tougher schedule than the Dodgers do the rest of the way. So I'm feeling good about the rest of the regular season. And then you get healthy and hope the offense shows up in October.
Yeah. And, at this point, there's a lot of conversations that you can have about the bye and, should the Dodgers do it, should the Dodgers not? The only reason we say not, or people would say not, is because that they've lost the last 2 years when they've had that bye. But also at this point in the season, it's an automatic advancement to the next round. So, like, that part, the Dodgers technically have won 1 round the last 2 years, but not by definition, but by, just logic looking at it. The other part of it is the Dodgers kind of need it because, an extra 5 days for any other pitcher that might be coming back from injury or whatever is going to have those 5 extra days to kind of rest and build up their arm a little bit.
Yeah, for this year's team, any argument against the bye is way more than outweighed by how much the Dodgers need the 4 or 5 days off.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, you got anything else before we head out?
Nope. Hopefully Dodgers can even up this series, finish it on they've already actually won the season series with the Braves. They can even up this series and leave Atlanta on a high note behind Yamamoto on Monday.
Yeah, Yamamoto on Monday against the Braves, against Max Fried, and then they head out to Miami for 3 games with the Marlins. So we will be here to talk about all of it all week, so make sure to check back in with us every night after most of the games or in the morning if you can't get to it at night. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts, and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can subscribe and make it easier to find us or be notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels on the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. Locked On Dodgers Postcast with host Pete Fox is available on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel live after most Dodger games. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. A lot more active on there, so make sure to check that out. You know, beyond the podcast, come a Locked On Dodgers Insider at joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. Few bucks a month, and you get text directly from us, keeping you up to date with the Dodgers if you are not able to on your own. Jeff is on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us for any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. We can get in your car if you're at home. Take your smart device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.